So I think almost all the trends right now are fundamentally disrupting how people thought about solution models in the past. Probably the most prominent one is that simply the role of technology, both in terms of how people want to work, but then also how we can use it in service delivery, is much more pervasive and significant than what it was, say, just 5 years ago. So I think in an automated world, it basically removes some of what the human needs to do, but in other ways also kind of helps turbocharge what's possible from the human. If you look at almost any technology, often it expands what the human can do, what models we can have for transportation, for food, retail, et cetera. I think one of the maybe most difficult things will be is that the way people have to deal with technology, because it's going to be so much more pervasive for most people, some of their management skills and thinking skills will have to change in ways they haven't necessarily had to do in the past.
I think the focus on innovation, adding value, as well as just trying to support the increasing sophistication in customer demands will have to stay the same, because that is the bedrock on which the current industry is built, and that's the key things that buyers focus on and enterprises focus on deriving out of their outsourcing or in-house relationships. Absolutely. I think some of the key changes we see in location strategy and portfolio strategy are driven by the move towards digitalization, right? So a lot of the demands from talent, both in terms of volume as well as the kind of talent you need, are driven by increasing use of technology or digitalization, and that is likely to drive a significant amount of change, both in terms of where do you want to locate work, as well as how much, and how all of these locations then tie into that overall global portfolio for you.
I guess I'd say there's some companies that are much more aggressively embracing what does change mean and trying to think about it in a fairly holistic way, opening up their cultures to more sources of talent, acquisitions, working with startups, et cetera. And what they're doing is viewing trying things and failing as part of a journey, not sort of a mark of, hey, everything we do must be successful. The more regulated you are, the harder it is to do that, because people struggle to fail in very risk-adverse organizations. But I think they're going to have to learn, especially if you think about fintech and how that's going to impact a lot of the banking financial services segments. If they don't get good at experimenting and sort of failing fast, then their lunch may be eaten by someone else. Personally, I think the biggest thing we have to keep our eye on, and we talk some about it, but not quite as much, is simply analytics embedded into service delivery. So we have much smarter processes, much more access to data. The automation, the cognitive, a whole bunch of things depend on the data. And as you think about digital customer experience, also getting more of your employees, it's how do you bring in sort of a intimate and real-time way data into what's happening and analytically help things operate better. I think that's the secret sauce that's kind of hidden throughout almost everything. So in our research, where we're covering the impact of some of these disruptions in global services, we're trying to look fairly both generically at what's happening with some of the new technologies, some of the new themes, but also look at it in all the different functions and vertical aspects that we cover. And so we're looking right now at a number of different, say, outsourcing markets, contact center, payroll, data center, et cetera, on how is automation, analytics, et cetera, impacting those.
Yeah, I think from a just point of view of where things will move, we're also looking at what is a digitalized location portfolio strategy. So what is a post-automation digitalized world look like in terms of global services? So what kind of portfolios will will you need? What kind of locations should be in that portfolio? What will be the roles of these locations in that overall global portfolio? So some of this, I think, research we are also coming out with that will be helpful to answer those questions.